So today I'm going to talk about migrating to cPanel and WHM. So you might already have a control panel where it's something that you do yourself, or you might be using another commercially available solution. So a lot of people are familiar with our built-in scripts where you can go into the transfer section of WHM and you can copy an account from another server, or you can copy multiple accounts from another server. You click on it, you tell it what type of server you're running, and you can select from like direct admin or Flask or Ensom, and you're filling out the form. And here's the variety. We also support webPanel, Zervex, Alabanza, CL Host, and Sphere. And okay, you could just do that, but that's kind of, it's doing things manually, and we offer a free service that goes way beyond just running these silly little scripts. So that is not the website I wanted. Geeks Gone Wild is our wonderful party that's tonight. So what we do is we offer migration services. Since you're migrating from software that's not built by cPanel, sometimes it changes in ways that we do not anticipate. So that's why we offer a full migration service. So what does that even mean? So what this means is, if you go to migrate.cpanel.net, you'll get the information that's on the screen. But basically, the way this works is, first you submit a request, so you get in touch with our technical analysts, and you say, hey, I want to migrate my server or my entire data center or my group of servers. It doesn't matter if it's one server or 1,000 servers. You send in the request, and the first thing we do, we don't hop in and immediately just run a script and convert everybody over to cPanel. We want to be a little bit more careful in that. So we do an initial evaluation to look at what you're doing right now on that server and see, are there anything, are there any settings, any configurations that are blatantly obvious that we might run into problems with migrating? Are you migrating from a multi-server setup into a single server setup? And is your migration path feasible? So we look for things like that, and also do you need to run PHP as PHP and so forth, or are there databases of names that are not prefixed? cPanel accommodates that, but this is something we want to be aware of before we migrate the data. After we do our initial analysis, we'll come to you with a customized migration plan specifically for your servers. So in this will be a plan of, here's what we'll have to do, here's the issues that we'll have to overcome, here's how we plan to overcome those issues. And if you approve that, next we go on to scheduling. When do you want this migration to happen? Obviously you might want to schedule this migration for a time when there's very little traffic on a particular server. And if you're an international company, that time can vary from server to server. So we work with you on scheduling, then we put it into our scheduling system, and as soon as that time happens, whether it's 4 in the morning or 4 in the afternoon, Houston time, we'll come in and we'll migrate your server. We have migration analysts on staff 24 hours a day. As we go through the migration, we'll give you progress updates. Okay, this has worked well. Okay, we hit a snag here, but we've gone ahead and fixed this particular issue. Or, just anything we encounter, we'll let you know about. Our whole goal here is to make this migration process as stress-free for you as possible. Because we understand moving from one control panel to another is a huge commitment of your time and resources, and that's why we want to absorb all that stress and all those dedication and resources, so it's something you don't have to deal with. So once we migrate all the accounts over, keep in mind you're making copies of accounts. We're not deleting the data off the original server. So the original data is remaining on those original servers running other control panel software until you go ahead and do a DNS switchover, and then you choose to delete that data off the old server if you want to. So what DNS switchover means is, okay, now example.com is no longer hosted on that server running the other control panel. It's now going to run on my cPanel server. And once that's done, we just ask for a confirmation, hey, is this done? So we have a 7-step process. It's a lot more than just running a script or going to a screen in WHM. You can do that. A lot of hosting providers do continue to do that, but keep in mind, this is a free service that we offer that goes far beyond just running a script. So if you're a data center, you can go ahead and make this a free service that you offer to your customers, but then send your customers our way or act as an intermediary between you, us, and your customer. So it's all up to you. It's a free service. We very much encourage data centers to use it. It's a great service. For example, in Ping Zine, our latest issue of Ping Zine, there's actually a success story on one of the later pages talking about United Host and how they moved their entire data center from NSIM to cPanel and WHM. Their control panel has been very minimally supported, and they wanted to move to something that was more frequently supported. And after a lot of research, looking at a lot of the industry players for control panels, they finally made a decision to move to cPanel. And they talk about the success story they had with moving from their old control panel to cPanel using our free migration service. And this is free to everyone, whether you're running, dedicated, if you're a direct customer of ours, whether you're one of our partners, whether you're a customer of a partner, we'll help everyone migrate over to cPanel. So we don't mind migrations being too big or too small, but there are limitations to our free migration service. As you can see here, the list of platforms that we support is limited to just the most popular commercially available control panels. So it isn't that extensive list that you get in our scripts, but to be honest, most of you probably aren't using those other control panels anyway. So we support Direct Admin, NSIM, which is now known as Parallels Pro, and Parallels Plus. We also request that the servers, meet these requirements that we have up here. So, your cPanel server needs to be a brand new installation with no pre-existing accounts. You need to have a valid cPanel license, but if you need a temporary license, we'll gladly give you one. If you are transferring accounts, you really do need root access to both the cPanel server and the server you are migrating from. Without root access, we cannot do this properly. In fact, even our transfer scripts are only designed to go from a live server, so you cannot just give us a backup and then expect us to restart it in the cPanel and WHM environment. Our scripts and our service are designed to work from live servers. Also, we ask that when you install cPanel, try to run the latest version of cPanel. It just makes our lives a lot easier because as we encounter slight nuances with migrations, we immediately report those to our development team, and our development team has a person dedicated to just migrations, and we get a quick turnaround on that. So that means all the latest stuff winds up in the latest version of cPanel, so you don't encounter the issues that others may have encountered. Now this isn't the big one, which to non-technical people may not sound like a big deal, but to technical people, they understand it is a big deal. Your MySQL version on the old server that you're migrating from must be at version 4.1 or later. There's reasoning behind this. Migrating from MySQL 4.0 or earlier to 4.1 has a lot of issues. I mean, remember back in the day when we were all migrating from 4.0 to 4.1 to MySQL many years ago, and it was such a pain. This is why we set this minimum requirement. Now, most servers nowadays are running MySQL 4.1 or later. In fact, most are running MySQL 5.1 nowadays. And if you're running Perl on the old server, it should be running at version 5.6.2 or later. Our Perl scripts don't work with earlier versions of Perl. Keep in mind, Perl tends to evolve as a programming language fairly swiftly. So that's why we asked that the Perl version on that remote server be at a certain version or later. Now keep in mind, Perl 5.6.2 is many years old at this point. So more than likely your server's already running it that way. So this means we could take accounts from another control panel that you're running, as long as you have root access to it, and we can move it over to a new cPanel and WHM server, as long as you meet these requirements, which for most people is not going to be a problem. Unless you have a server that's 10 years old and hasn't been updated in 10 years, you're probably going to be okay. And that's really all there is to migration. You just contact us and we'll take care of it, and we'll work with you throughout the whole process. This way, we make sure this migration happens on your time scale, and we can schedule this for a time that is most convenient for you and your customers.